Baptiste, I want you to order 2,000 pounds of caviar. Put it on my bill. And then get me my sword. I have a run-in with the Englanders next week. I love warring with Englanders and spending money. And there are no rights for anyone but me.
Now what is he doing in there now?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, we'll show how to get things done.
How do we go about doing that?
I'll show you. A right one must possess, otherwise you're just a mess. Those of life and liberty and the pursuit of property are not given by Santa Claus, and our birthdays are the laws, for without them then no other rights would have a single plus.
Greetings, my name is Voltaire. Shall I agree with you there? Life and liberty are great, but without this you'll meet fate. One must be able to speak, telling things that others seek. Should anyone take this right, then we must put up a fight. Are you ready, Montesquieu?
Oui, oui.
Give it a whirl, old boy. Why don't you?
My name is Montesquieu, with an idea that is new. A government with separate branches in which all pay equal tax. Executive and legislative make the laws deliberative. The judicial judge the grim. All these men are voted in. You lead to fate I do predict, so your thoughts I contradict. Government is not for me, for the monarchy is key. You must have strong government to prepare the armament, and to keep everyone safe, lest a convict grab your safe. Bah! I'll show you how to get things done. With church teachings you conflict, and thy words make monarchs sick, and so ye I must convict. All of ye are heretics. The Lord will judge you sinners, and you'll be the devil's dead. Submit thyself before the Pope, or otherwise thou hast no hope. Let's get out of here.
For once in my life I agree with you, old boy. Quick, in here! Now where are we?
We are in a tennis court. The perfect place to write the new constitution. Want to sign?
May I remind you that we are due in Paris in a short while?
That is right. I forgot.
It is a cab, Montesquieu.
Alright, follow me. There's one.
Quick, let's get in.
Where to, Mac?
We'd like to go to Paris, please.
Paris? That'll cost you $50.
50 bucks!
Give me the pay!
Have a good day!
Give me the pay! Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye! I am Robespierre! As President of the Public Safety Committee, I know that we Frenchmen have it rough. We men of the third estate deserve better treatment than what we get. We pay all the taxes, we have poor representation, and we're treated like dirt. Did you notice that the price of bread has nearly doubled due to taxes? This is to supply the pathetic army on their frivolous campaigns against England. I say we do something about it. Let's revolt against the fiend! And then we'll chop off Louis's head! There's a fat head for you to chop off! What do you think you're doing to me, Texican? Get me out of here! What kind of a red are you?
No, that would never do.
Oh, never to bring power! Let me tell them how to do it! I think I'm too short.
Here, Montesquieu, I'll do it for you.
Leduc! I'm going to make quack Suzette!
Well, okay then. I do say, old boys, you're doing it wrong. Look at all the pointless death and destructions you've wrought upon yourselves. Chopping men's heads off, storming the Bastille, shame on you. But anyways, my friend Voltaire over there says that you have no freedom of speech because you kill anyone who opposes you. John complains that you are vandalizing property and taking men's lives.
And you have no separation of power!
You forbid people to worship freely and change the calendar for that purpose. So that is why your revolution is terrible, young man. Well, it ain't entirely bad. Now what you're doing isn't all bad. I mean, ultimately, you are promoting the Republic. Through your actions, France will become a great empire and have a fair book of laws for all men. It will also lead to the creation of the true middle class, which will aid in industrialization. And later on, women's rights will come forth from the ideology in rebellion as well. But I don't like women's rights or bloodshed, so I disapprove of this rebellion.
I disapprove too, because you forbid free speech.
And you don't have a monarchy.
Won't you shut up about my monarchy?
Wait a minute! How do you know about women's rights? Because I asked my gypsy friend about it last week. What will become of relevant ideologies? Blimey!
This meeting of the Seneca Falls Convention will now come to order. You all know we are covering women's rights today, so let's begin with the basics, starting with Mary Wollstonecraft. She wrote a book called A Vindication of the Rights of Women, in which she made some very interesting points. For example, women should be employed in business and educated, rather than housewives. She also demanded that women be able to participate in politics, education, and work, and that all oppression against women cease. Now, Elizabeth, would you like to tell us a little about Olympe de Gouges?
Thank you, Susan. For the most part, a Declaration of the Rights of Women and the Female Citizen asked for the same things as Mary did, but we do see some new requests, including that women should be able to legally own property, collect an income, and hold political positions. It also demanded that upon a divorce, the property was to be divided equally between man and woman and could not be seized. She based it heavily off of the Declaration of the Rights of Man and the Citizen of 1789.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Alright, now it's time to get down to business. These here ideas are great, but not enough. We want men and women to be completely equal. We want women's voting rights. We want women to get wages. We want women to be able to raise children singly. We want women to be man's equal. That is why we are holding this conference.
Enlightenment ideas influenced women's rights greatly. After all, without the Enlightenment, women's rights wouldn't exist. After men got rights, women started to want rights too. Basically, women wanted the same rights as men. Before the Enlightenment, they were equally powerless, but now they were left behind.
You're gonna grow up to be worthless!
Is there anything good on television today? Oh well, I got better things to do with my time anyway. Greetings from Kansas Plantation, from Kansas Food Choice. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a conquistador. I run a plantation. I grow cash crops. Well, not that kind, but they're good too. Ouch! Let's see here, what do we get? Santa Ana has been put into exile. Angry peasants stormed Capitol and installed Benito Juarez as new dictator. He instantly got down to business and wrote a new constitution. The Reformer, as it's known, confiscated land from the church and natives. Hey, I love scamming natives. This created a very large real estate market, and the land is being sold to farmers by the government. Boy, I should buy some of that cheap land. It also limited ecclesiastical and militaristic participation in government. Yeah. Boy, I'm gonna buy some of that cheap land. Ouch! Another one. Liberals convict the president, Francisco Madero, of betrayal to the conservative side. Emiliano Zapata's plan of Ayala denounces Francisco and claims that he contradicted revolutionary ideas of the Republic. Francisco was put to death, and Emiliano elected himself as president. Monopolies who opposed the plan to knock Francisco out and make the democracy had 2/3 of their property confiscated. Wow! Ouch! Another one. Mexico institutes new constitution, the Constitution of 1917. Already? In this document, many new orders were carried out. They enforced separation of the church and state, expropriation and redistribution of land, and the government ownership of subsoil. New rights were put in, including the right to form a labor union, a maximum of 8-hour workday, and a minimum wage was instigated. This was the final step in which democracy took over dictatorship. Wait a second! This newspaper's from 1917! Why on earth's this? It's 2022! Hey, you paper boy! Yes, sir? Where are you delivering papers from 100 years ago? I'm running a little behind, sir. Yeah, no good. Well, what's going on in the news lately? It says that an Enlightenment thinker would be pleased with the events of post-colonial Mexico because the natural rights and other things were achieved and preserved in their government. Because they have nothing else to report on. It also says you should stop talking and move on to the next subject. Okay. Well, take it away, Jed.
Thank you, Gans. Now, the Enlightenment not only affected France and Mexico, but several other nations as well. In addition to the major revolutions mentioned here, there were also some minor, less successful revolutions. One example of which would be the March uprisings of 1848, which was started in Baden-Württemberg. They were influenced by Enlightenment ideologies because Hecke, their leader, learned and subject. They rebelled against the Duke in an attempt to instate a republic. However, the Hessians crushed the rebellion. Many more such examples exist. Another point to look at is the Enlightenment's impact on communism. Ultimately, without free speech, communism would have never existed, but the ideologies grew to oppose each other. Communism inhibits the liberty of its citizens and forbids the freedom of speech. Naturally, these two beliefs have caused each other lots of problems. Also, Enlightenment ideologies were modified to include equality for Africans and people of color in the 1960s, and equality issues of the sort still continue to this day. Those are some ways the Enlightenment affected societies over time.